I mentioned how bad the economy is. I mean, I don't need to tell you. You know how bad it is. You go to the grocery store, you go out to dinner, you try to book vacations, and you see it, right? You know how much your rent is. You know how much your mortgage is. You know how much more money you are spending in the gas tank every single week to go to and from work. You know. But Joe Biden thinks he can pull a fast one on you. Yeah, even though there's a GDP report out today showing that, wow, we hit, you call it a speed bump, or even more than that. I love this site, Zero Hedge. Those guys are really great over there. They write in their headline, stagflation shock. GDP stuns with lowest print in 2 years, below lowest estimation as PCE comes in red hot. All right, so just to back up a little bit about this doesn't really surprise me. In other words, the economy is not really growing, not the way it needs to, not the way it should be in light of, all the low interest rates we had for so long. The U.S. economy grew at a meager 1.6% annual rate, and inflation surged higher in the first 3 months of the year. All right, so this is a problem. That is stagflation. That's the definition of stagflation. When you have no economic growth, but you got massive inflation. Economists had anticipated that we would be growing around 2.5%. So instead, we got 1.6, 2.5 versus 1.6. In the fourth quarter of 2023, so the last 3 months, the economy actually grew at 3.4%. So 3.4% was pretty good. You were going into the end of the year. What happened? Why are you down at 1.6%? Consumer spending came in pretty solid, but still a little weaker than what economists had been anticipating. And it seems as though consumers are pulling back pretty sharply on the spending of goods, because if you look at durable goods, they declined to 1.2% in an annual pace. Spending on services, they rose 4%. That's part of the inflation in there. And overall spending came in at 2.5%, below the 3% estimate and the 3.3% recorded in the first 3 months of 2023. In other words, the economy sort of sucks, okay? We're looking at stagflation. And I can read you all these numbers, but you already get it. You got major inflation, and you got no growth. I mean, 1.6%. It's not keeping up with inflation, shall we say. And yet they think you're so dumb that you'll believe this spin. Here's Joe Biden just moments ago doing a little speech trying to say how great everything is. The economy's just great. Buddy, read your own reports. 1.6%, not great. But yeah, he goes out there and then he keeps flubbing his lines. He can't read a teleprompter to save his life. And at some point he said, hey, it's great. We're exporting American jobs. Listen for that one. Here we go.
It's clear we have the strongest economy in the world. That's a fact. 15 million new jobs created in 3.5 years. Unemployment hasn't been this low for this long for 50 years. Wages are rising. Instead of importing foreign products, we're exporting American jobs. We're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
There we go.
Here in America, where they belong.
Unbelievable. And just to set the record straight, you know what? Wages are not growing as much as inflation. Okay, so don't sit there and tell me the wages are growing and growing and growing, when in fact inflation is growing that much more. You got to look at something, Joe, called real wages, okay? And when you look at real wages, you see real wages are not growing as much as inflation, and therefore that is why people feel so freaking miserable. And he thinks that you ought to just buy his spin. How dare you not? He said it so. He wants you to believe it, and he sends out these. I mean, this is a great chart. Thanks for putting that one up, Drew. You've got energy prices up nearly 40% under Joe Biden. This is comparing Trump and Biden. You get gasoline up nearly 50% under Joe Biden. You get electricity up 30%, nat gas up basically 30%, eggs up 21%. We'll go down the list here. I mean, you guys know the drill, right? This is how much more stuff costs. Eggs, forgive me, are up 49%. Wow. Groceries overall are 21%. People are not making 50% more money. yet they have to pay 50% more for their eggs for their morning breakfast. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem. And they think that you're supposed to ignore it. And you're supposed to believe what they tell you like it's the gospel. Right? Like you can't question anything nowadays. If you do, you're part of the problem. You're one of those bad MAGA people.